Hey everyone, welcome back to the Critic-Verse. Today we're going to be continuing with our recap and review of Power Book 4 Force, with Force Season 2 Episode 4, titled The Devil's in the Details. Now before we get to the recap, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep updated on all things Critic-Verse, and to help me reach my goal of 500 subscribers. Also, the recap will contain spoilers, so hopefully you've seen the episode before you watch this video. Now, on to the review. The episode is once again titled The Devil's in the Details. The title is in reference to the fact that Tommy and Diamond are both hiding key details from one another about recent events going on in their lives, and leaving out these details leads to dangerous consequences later on. Also, the anti-gang task force is digging into Tommy's life, trying to get any detail they can, as he's like a ghost to them. Meanwhile, the Flynn family is on a shaky foundation as Walter's ego feels threatened by Paulie's loyalty, and Claudia's desperateness interferes with Vic's plans for revenge. The episode begins with Jenard experiencing guilt hallucinations after murdering Little Kay while under the influence of heroin. Next, the U.S. Attorney's task force are going over Little Kay's murder, but Detective DeFranco switches the focus to Tommy and wants all info they can get on him, but also puts out an order for multiple busts on mid-level dealers in CBI's payroll, trying to put the squeeze on their operation. Walter is low on funds, having to pay back Dublin, and rejects Paulie's advice to ask for more time, seeing it as making him look weak, and telling Paulie not to reach out to Brendan Doyle and raise the rent on everyone that pays protection to them, and doesn't want to hear any of Paulie's opinions on this. Leon's mom, Gianni, comes to the barbershop to speak with Diamond and thanks him for offering to teach her son to box, and is definitely giving him the eyes. Tommy is teaching Maria how to drive while the U.S. Attorney's agents are spying and taking photos. When Maria floors the gas, they try to follow but lose them behind a crossing train. Jenard is spreading his supply thin by mixing it with baby powder, and when one of his boys criticizes this, he switches to tell him they need more corner boys to sell it. Then he asks Jenard about Little Kay, and Jenard lies, saying that Little Kay has been dodging him ever since he was looking for him. But we know the real truth. Maria takes Tommy to the zoo, and after they flirt a little bit, Tommy spots one of Rojas's guys, and he makes an excuse to go away to the bathroom. The guy follows Tommy, and a fight quickly ensues. And of course, this young guy is really no match for Tommy, and Tommy comes out on top, killing the guy right there in the restroom. He cleans up and then leaves the restroom, leaving the guy tucked away in the stall, and tells Maria that he has to rain check for later tonight. D-Mac and his friend from last season, Marshall, playing basketball, discussing the current gang politics, and D-Mac is upset that Tommy doesn't want to put him in the game. But D-Mac's friend says he got caught lacking and is actually glad that he's not back in the game. But D-Mac shows off the gun he took from his dad. And they try to put some game on some girls passing by, and D-Mac recognizes one of the girls, so someone that he used to hook up with, and says he needs to get funds. Claudia tries convincing Vic to work with her again, but after he declines, she decides to tell him what their father did with Gloria's old bar, and I was kind of wondering what happened to that location. Cut to last season's fan favorite dirty cop, Seamus, who's the mysterious contact from last week, who is now shaking down Diamond again for more money, which does frustrate Diamond. Tommy enters the barbershop asking about Seamus, but Diamond lies and said all he wanted was a free cut for him and some fellow officers. Tommy warns him about the attack and the new body the streets just got. Vic visits Gloria's old place to find that the bar is now a strip club, and he flips out on the current owner. D-Mac wants his Uncle Tommy to put him on, and Tommy says no, and D-Mac threatens to go work for treason. And Tommy switches personality so fast, telling D-Mac, don't test him or he'll kill him. Paulie meets with Brendan Doyle and offers money as an ask to give Walter more time. And although Brendan does respect Paulie, and he does hate Walter, he respects Paulie enough to consider the ask. The U.S. Attorney's Task Force goes over the photos of Tommy and Maria, but the recent CPD pullover was someone from last season. I can't remember who exactly, but she was a girl that was with one of the Flynn's regular dealers. And she IDs Vic from a murder that took place last season, and she says he was with another white boy. Diamond is at a boxing gym training Leon and tells him why he started to learn how to box. And Diamond has to cut the training short because he has another meeting with Seamus. Claudia is making a deal with the Serbs, and in trying to convince the Serbs that the gossip on the streets is false, she might have actually just put Jenard in some really hot water by saying he and his brother aren't actually beefing at all and are just playing a game. Because remember, Jenard made the deal with the Serbs, and now if they hear this, there's going to be some hell to pay for him. Then we see Jenard putting Shanti's loyalty to the test when he reveals he killed little Kay to her. But apparently she's ride or die. She also senses he's on something, but he deflects, leaving to go meet Miguel. Walter, then at the strip club with Brendan Doyle, pays him an installment. And while Brendan compliments Walter, he does let it slip that he met with Paulie. And this really annoys Walter. Next, Miguel wants to know why Jenard hasn't re-upped yet, and Jenard reveals that the Serbs have been pressing on him to Miguel. Miguel, not a fan of the Serbs either, applies pressure to Jenard, telling him that he needs to be afraid of him more than the Serbs, but lets up once Maria shows up for his insulin injection, I believe. Tommy catches Diamond meeting with Seamus again, who again wants more money, and he wants it again by tonight. Tommy confronts Diamond about what he just witnessed, and Diamond comes clean about his situation. And he tells Tommy the Rojas situation was handled off screen, of course, we don't get to see that, but Tommy doesn't tell Diamond about Maria, and instead gives him a new plan of switching phones for their lower level dealers. At Treason, the dreadhead that pressed Jenard last week, apparently his name is Grayskull, comes asking about Little Kay, but when he sees Jenard using from his own supply, asks if the shit that they're selling is stepped on, which Jenard doesn't deny. News of Little Kay's death hit the streets after a post from his cousin, and one of the guys wants retaliation. After Jenard tells them it would fuck with the money, he admits to killing Little Kay for breaking rank. And another fight ensues. And I can't lie, Jenard was really holding his own against Grayskull, but then the other guy starting to get involved, but even then he didn't back down. I gotta hand it to him. That was pretty fucking cool. And they ganged up on him, but what are you gonna do? The fight is broken up, and a couple of the guys quit Treason, and Jenard has his training day moment. Walter shows up to Paulie's place late at night, drunk, and he goes on a rant about how he only hired Paulie because he's his brother-in-law as a favor to his wife. But he shit on his reputation going to Doyle, and the only reason why he's not killing Paulie is because his children would never forgive him. Claudia and Vic plot behind Walter's back, Vic reconsidering their partnership, and Claudia wants to commit patricide on Walter and convinces Vic to get on board. And it's kind of ironic how in this scene, how the previous scene, Walter says he didn't kill Paulie because the kids will never forgive him, and then the next scene, the kids are already plotting his death. Maybe he should have just killed Paulie. I like Paulie though, so thankfully he didn't kill him. Diamond's lawyer informed him of the task force and advises Diamond to lay low and let the lower level players do the dirty work. But he should also get a friend in CPD, and Diamond has just a friend in mind. And in the final scene of the episode, Diamond and Tommy meet with Seamus, but he's very jumpy and he even pulls the gun on them. They try to offer him a deal as being their guy on the force, but he berates them, saying that he doesn't want to work with the drug dealers. And he gets shot out of nowhere. And who's the shooter? D-Mac. And now they have a whole new problem on their hands, and it's the end of the episode. Boy, this episode was one hell of a roller coaster. I think it was better than last week's episode, but not the best so far this season. And a couple of thoughts I had on this week's episode is this seems to be the episode of returning faces, as 3 characters from last season return, but not all of them are returning for very long. Seamus, a character that annoyed a lot of people, returned for this episode to continually shake Diamond down for more and more money, and this proves to be his downfall. It's also interesting how he didn't want to work for Diamond when he was already on the Flynn's payroll, but it's probably because of what Diamond's bad sales did to his sister. But it's also ironic because he claimed that he was doing God's work even though he was already a dirty cop to begin with. And D-Mac's friend Marshall reappears, and apparently he's selling for CBI, but he is happy D-Mac isn't because he nearly died. And I do think that is a refreshing change of pace, except for, the whole 1 step forward, 2 step back thing, as he does support D-Mac having a gun because D-Mac got caught lacking. Then finally, the girl that Tommy protected in that shootout with Vic from last season. And while the girl does name Vic, she doesn't remember Tommy. Or maybe she does remember Tommy and she's not saying that it's him because he saved her life. And although USA Stacy tries to coerce her to name Tommy as the other white guy, even though her husband is questioning her methods, which is funny because it does come back to that scene they had in the last episode where he says that Stacy will do anything to further her career. And then the scenes with Tommy and Maria feel very out of place. Like there was a couple scenes that they cut for time because they happened to mention Maria's fling or her boyfriend. They might not be exclusive because at the end of the episode, her and Tommy are hooking up. But she mentioned his name and I'm like, wait a second. Am I supposed to know who that is? Because I don't ever remember them saying what that guy's name was. But it also feels like such a switch up. Like, I don't get like how she like gets this close to Tommy after giving him like most of the cold shoulder usually. And it feels like she just might be working for her brother as a plant to get close to Tommy because she claims to not know how to drive, but yet drives well enough to outrun a train. And lastly, D-Mac putting a cop down makes him Tommy's second nephew to put down a cop after Tariq, which is going to be a new mess. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this episode? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for joining me in the Critic-Verse. See you next time.